lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors.
Tuvieron además un patriarcado sobre el cual de ellos sería el más importante. Jesús les dijo, los reyes de las naciones oprimen a sus súbditos y los que ejercen autoridad sobre ellos se llaman a sí mismos benefactores. No sea así entre ustedes.
But not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. For who is greater, one who reclines at table or one who serves? Is it not the one who reclines at table? But I am among you as the one who serves.
Al contrario, el mayor debe comportarse como el menor, y el que manda como el que sirve. Porque ¿quién es más importante, el que está a la mesa o el que sirve? No lo es el que está sentado a la mesa. Sin embargo, yo estoy entre ustedes como uno que sirve.
You are those who have stayed with me in my trials, and I assign to you, as my Father assigned to me, a kingdom, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Ahora bien, ustedes son los que han estado siempre a mi lado en mis pruebas. Por eso yo mismo les concedo un reino, así como mi Padre me lo concedió a mí, para que coman y beban a mi mesa en mi reino, y se sienten en tronos para juzgar a los 12 tribus de Israel.
Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. Peter said to him, Lord, I am ready to go with you both to prison and to death. Jesus said, I tell you, Peter, the rooster will not crow this day until you deny 3 times that you know me.
Simón, mira que Satanás ha pedido zarandearlos a ustedes como si fueran trigo, pero yo he orado por ti, para que no falle tu fe. Y tú, cuando te hayas vuelto a mí, fortalece a tus hermanos. Señor, respondió Pedro, estoy dispuesto a ir contigo tanto a la cárcel como a la muerte. Pero él dijo, Pedro, te digo que hoy mismo, antes de que cante el gallo, 3 veces negarás que me conoces.
This is the word of our Lord.
Esta es la palabra de Dios. Niños, pueden ir de tercer grado hacia abajo, pueden ir a su clase. Si alguien necesita ayuda con la traducción del sermón, por favor, levante su mano para que sea ayudado.
Well, hey friends, good morning. If we have not had a chance to meet yet, my name is Kensen. I serve as one of the pastors at Park Community Church, specifically our Bridgeport Church, which is not too far from here. I love this church. I've come here a couple of times to preach, and you guys are always a blessing to be with. Today we're going to be in Luke 22 as we just read the verses, and I do want to apologize because I say this every single time. As soon as I'm done, I have to go back to my church because my wife has a meeting and I need to pick up the kids. So I just found out last night. So I'm sorry. I was really hoping to stay here and have a chance to chat with you guys, and it will happen. One day it will happen. The first thing I want to do when I get started here is I actually want to take a moment to say how much I appreciate you guys and the way that you serve. You know, I was looking at your Facebook account, and I was noticing all the pictures of all the ways that you guys get involved, especially like last week. So last week, you guys, again, were part of the Memorial Day Parade here in McKinley Park, and you've been doing this for many, many years now. And I just love the fact that, first off, that you are serving in the Memorial Parade, but that the neighborhood is also giving you the favor as a church to say that we actually want you guys to be here. But in addition, it's not just enough to have a little pickup truck going up and down McKinley, but you also hosted this wonderful activity, this meal right outside your door here with all these other folks to enjoy with a bounce house and food. And this is what I love. What I see in these pictures is that you're making such intentional efforts to serve your neighbors, right? That the majority of the people who live in McKinley Park, 89 to 90% are Latino, Spanish speaking, right? So it can be very easy for a church like Bethany to say, hey, you know what? Spanish is not our first language, so it is what it is. So we're not going to do anything. But instead, you guys have jumped right into the deep end to say, you know what? McKinley is our neighborhood, and we are here to serve. I love that about you guys. Something else I love about the way that you serve, obviously, is your Awana program. You guys have been doing this for years, decades, dare I say generations. You have been doing this. And I love it because you are planting gospel seeds. And as many of you know, a lot of our families have been coming to your Awana program. And as a pastor, I always feel guilty, it's another church, we're using up their resources, this is so bad, we're taking up space for other people. So actually, last year, we actually sent an email to Linda saying, hey, Linda, we love Awana, our families love it, but we feel really bad. If you tell us to take our families away so that we can create more space for other families to come, we would do it. If we would step away and let you guys do that, it would be our joy. And Linda's like, no. And then she sent us an email, and here are just a couple of things that she said. She actually talked to a few of you volunteers, and she said that one of them said to me, having their kids come is helpful. I personally would be hugely disappointed to lose them, so frankly, their kids make it more fun for the other kids and easier for me to lead my club. That was very nice. Another one of you volunteers said, love having them and hope they can stay. And then Linda wrapped it up by saying, so many people tell us at Bethany that they are happy to help us, so now I'm very happy to say that we at Bethany are happy to serve Park families through Awana. So if I can just give a hand just to the church here. You guys are absolutely wonderful. And the reason I share all this is because you guys are a great example of what it means to have a servant's heart, to serve with generosity and selflessness. You know, today in our passage, Jesus talks about this, that if you want to be great in his kingdom, you must be a servant. Verses 26 to 27 again. Jesus says, rather let the greatest among you become the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. For who is the greater, one who reclines at table or one who serves? It's the one who reclines at table, but I am the one among you who serves. I serve. Jesus saw himself as a servant, and he tells us as Christians that you should as well. Now, a mistake that we make when it comes to serving is that sometimes we can think that serving is an activity and not an identity. That sometimes we can think that serving is something separate of who we are. That serving is just volunteering, considering the needs of others, sometimes here and there going out of your way to help other people. But here's the problem. If serving is just an activity, if it is separate from who you are, then who are you? If serving is a one-off thing, then what are you the rest of the week? Who are you in your offices, in your marriages, in our churches, in our city? If we're not looking to serve, then what are we looking for? The only other answer is that we are looking to be served, that we want to be served. As Christ followers, there's no maybe to serving others. It's the very identity that God is transforming us to because he's transforming us into the image of Jesus Christ, who is the greatest servant. Being a servant is not an activity, it's an identity. So with that, our sermon is going to be in two parts today. First, we're going to look at verses 24 to 30 and see the command from Jesus to serve, his command. And in verses 31 to 34, we will see the example of Jesus in how he serves us. So the command of Jesus and then his example of how he serves us. So let's first look at the command of Jesus to serve. Verse 24 to 26 again. A dispute also arose among them, as to which of them was to be regarded as the greatest. And he said to them, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors, but not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. So a little context. In less than 24 hours, Jesus is going to be arrested and murdered on the cross. And this happens right at the final Passover meal with his disciples. That he'll have the bread and the cup, and he'll say that this bread will represent my body, which will be broken for you on the cross, and this is my blood, which will be spilled for you on the cross. Very, very sad moment, very somber moment. And to add to the grief, Jesus says right before this, in verses 21 to 23, he says, one of you will betray me. Now, you can imagine that the disciples are sitting around this table, and they're looking at each other thinking, wait, someone's going to betray you? Not me. I would never. I'm the most loyal. I've been with Jesus since day one. I'm his favorite. He's the one who invited me to the Mount of Transfiguration. I'm on the in. I'm with Jesus all the way. And it's in this bickering that leads to the stupidest argument in the Bible. The disciples begin to fight who is going to be the greatest in the kingdom. Instead of caring and nurturing Jesus in his grief, the disciples are trying to build their resume. We know that in John 13, that it's in this moment that Jesus washed their feet, that Jesus could not give a more humble example of service, but instead of learning from him, the disciples fight to be who's going to be number one, who's going to be first. So Jesus teaches them. Jesus said to them in verse 25, the kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and those in authority over them are called benefactors, but not so with you. Rather, let the greatest among you become as the youngest, and the leader as one who serves. So Jesus right now gives a distinction between worldly greatness and godly greatness. That when it comes to worldly greatness, it's all about me. It's all about the leader. He says that these type of people lord it over others. This means that you intimidate, you boss, you bully, you're mean, you're cruel, you're harsh. To be a benefactor means that you're rich and powerful. And the idea is that because you have lots of resources, people will need your help and support. But you're going to make them beg for it. You're going to make them grovel for it. And frankly, this is how a lot of our world still works today. Now, you hear this, and it's easy to think, this is not me. I'm not rich. I'm not powerful. I'm not influential. My kids don't even listen to me, right? This doesn't apply to me. No, it does. You might not be on the top of the social ladder, but you can have influence over others. Parents, managers, landlords, ministry leaders. Let me just give you a really practical example. Our economy is in big part a service industry. What that means is that because I have money, people will provide goods and services. So if I pay for something, I expect good service. That's how our economy works. So, for example, you go to Dunkin' Donuts and the barista makes your coffee wrong. How dare you? I asked for a large and you gave me a medium. I asked for 2 sugars, you gave me 3 sugars. How dare you? Give me your manager. Heads will roll, right? Right? We feel that, right? I've also seen this many times. I've seen people talk to police officers, public school teachers, or public servants saying, hey, you know what? You work for me. My taxes pay your salary. Do you see that we might not be the most powerful people in the eyes of the world, but it doesn't mean that we don't have influence. We can definitely boss people around. We can bark out orders. We can lord over others. We can make the lives of others hard. Jesus says, don't be like that. Be humble. Be a servant. Be like me. Don't pursue worldly greatness, but godly greatness that is defined by service and humility. So when you look out there and you see all that authority, all that power, all that status, all that ego, all that pride, that is not supposed to be the way for you. As my disciples, you are to have an entirely different posture. You are to be servants, and your greatness will be measured through your service to others. Verse 27, for who is the greater, one who reclines at table or one who serves? Well, it's the one who reclines at table. But I, Jesus, am among you as one who serves. You know, if you ever go to a fancy restaurant, it's the people who sit at the table who are the ones who have the money, who have the power, who have the status, who have the authority. Right? Those are the great ones. It's not the ones who are there taking your order or setting up your table or silverware. It's not the one who's filling up your cup of water. It's not the one picking up your dishes or scraping the leftover food, right, into the trash. We see those people as lower people of society. That no one ever says, oh, that waiter, that waitress, oh, the dishwasher in the back of the kitchen, oh man, that's a picture of greatness. No, these people are often overlooked. Jesus says, pursue that. Pursue that. That is what greatness looks like in the kingdom. It's humility and service, and it's these humble servants who will be exalted before God in the kingdom. Verse 28 and 29. You are those who have stayed with me in my trials, and I assign to you, as my Father assigned to me, a kingdom, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom, and sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus says here, follow me in humble service, and I will lift you up in the kingdom to come. What this means is that you don't need to prove greatness. You don't need to hunger for the applause of men. You don't need to fight for the best seat at the table. Instead, trust that the Father, He in His good time, will exalt you. So pour yourself out to other people, because it is the Father's role to give you a place of honor at the table, not you. He will give you the positions to rule, not you. So wait on Him. Trust Him. Have the long view in mind. One day, we will stand before Jesus and we will see Him face to face. And those who humbly serve, He will say, well done, good and faithful servant. That is what matters most. This is what we are to live for, not for our glory, but for His alone. His alone. As Christians, as servants, it's never about us. It's always about Jesus. It's kind of like this. Imagine that Jesus is running for office, okay, something like that. And it's our job as the church, as Christians, to get the word out there, that it is our job to tell people about King Jesus. And if we do our job right, people will see Jesus and not us. For example, in the last few presidential elections, how many of you remember who the campaign manager was for the president, right? None of us know, right? No one knows, right? And that's a good thing, because if during the election people were talking about the campaign manager and not the candidate, they would have done a very bad job, because their job is to promote the leader. This is the difference between worldly greatness and godly greatness. Who do we want to promote? Whose glory do we want to live for? Who are we ultimately serving? Me or Jesus? If it's about me, we will use other people. We will lord over others. But if it's for Jesus, we will love others and put others before ourselves. So here's the question. How can we have the power to serve like this? How can we have the power to obey Jesus' command? Because frankly speaking, left to ourselves, left to our flesh, left to our temptations, we're naturally self-serving. We're selfish, we're self-promoting. So how can we have the power to serve others? It's when we first let Jesus serve us. That's where the power comes from. It's when we first let Jesus serve us. You know, in the next set of verses here, we see an interaction between Jesus and Peter. Look at verse 31 and 34 here. It says, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan demanded to have you, that he might sift you like wheat. But I have prayed for you that your faith may not fail. And when you have turned again, strengthen your brothers. Peter said to him, Lord, I'm ready to go with you both to prison and to death. Jesus said,